Welcome to the podcast Stemme for Palestina Rogaland, meaning Voices for Palestine in Rogaland County on the west coast of Norway. The show is published by Palestinakomiteen in Stavanger, also known as the Palestinakomiteen of Stavanger. The Palestinakomiteen of Stavanger is a local branch of Palestinakomiteen, a nationwide Norwegian Palestine solidarity organization going back to the 70s. In this episode, we speak with and get to know Naseer Arafat, who has been Twin City Coordinator between Nablus and Stavanger for many, many years. The interview was done while he was visiting as part of the official delegation from Nablus during Stavanger City's 900th jubilee in June. Due to logistics, this interview had to be done without this podcast's other half, Rima Kiblavi. However, she has been involved in preparation and finalization of the episode. We are pointing this out because myself, Andreas, is not Palestinian, and therefore the line of questioning in this interview is limited due to a lack of lived experience when it comes to the displacement aspect of the Palestinian identity. However, we, the Palestinakomiteen in Stavanger, have made sure that Palestinians are leading the way when it comes to the production of this podcast and all other solidarity actions that we are undertaking. And we hope that you'll find this episode insightful. Enjoy and free Palestine. Naseer Arafat is a distinguished Palestinian architect and urban planner, renowned for his extensive work in cultural heritage conservation, particularly in the historic city of Nablus. Born in Nablus in 1968, Arafat's deep-rooted connection to his hometown has profoundly influenced his commitment to preserving its rich architectural and cultural legacy. He did a master's in development and planning from University College London in 2001, and over the past decades, Arafat has spearheaded numerous restoration and urban regeneration projects across Palestine. Notably, he led the architectural survey teams for the National Register of Historic Buildings in Palestine. Arafat is the founder and chairman of the Cultural Heritage Enrichment Center, CHEC. Since 2005, he has coordinated the twinning relationship between Nablus and Stavanger, Norway, facilitating cultural exchanges and mutual learning opportunities. And he's with us this weekend regarding the 900th year jubilee of Stavanger City. Welcome very much to our podcast, Naseer Arafat.
Thank you. Tusen tack.
Bare hyggelig. So, Naseer, could you sort of talk about your path into working with cultural heritage? How did you end up there?
Oh, that's a very serious question that brings my memory back to the first day of discovering the old city of Nablus, where I used to pass through going to school when I was young. And that was the start. And maybe it has also a connection with the memory of my family, whose house was demolished by the British in 1938. And it was a very painful kind of storytelling that came from my father and mother side. Both were cousins, and they both lived in the same house that was demolished by the British. And of course, uncles and aunts from both sides. So all these memories about the house and the beauty of the house, how thick the walls were, the courtyard and everything that was missing. But I could see it in some of the buildings, and building on this cumulative memory, I think influenced me to be involved into this kind of learning that ended up in architectural restoration of cultural heritage.
And would you say that is sort of your driving factor these days?
Yes, I think it is representing the identity. I remember in 1996 when I did my first course on restoration in the city of York at the King's Manor at York University. There was a student coming from Akka who was an Israeli PhD student, and she wanted to present her PhD thesis, which was open invitation to the students, which I attended. And she introduced and talked about, explained, discussed, analyzed the old houses of Akka as being a representative of the Jewish cultural heritage. And one of the professors there asked her a question. Well, I don't see except Arab-Palestinian houses. How come this is related to the Jewish cultural heritage? What you are showing us are only Palestinian houses in terms of architecture. So I thought, well, yeah, this is the identity that cannot be false written by anybody. This is the history that cannot be messed or missed. So I think that is a very important driving force for us to prove that Palestine is the land of Palestinians. And these monuments of old buildings are, major, very powerful evidence that who are the owners of the land, who built it, and it is spreading all over, which also have been widely targeted by the various invasions to the Palestinian cities, and lately in Gaza.
I'm a bit anxious to bring us too soon into the political aspect of this conversation, because you really want to also talk about the exhibition that we talked about before this interview. But could we sort of go briefly into that, the role of cultural erasure as central to settler colonialism?
Well, culture is a very wide word that has underneath so many projects, activities, meanings, etc., etc. But what I'm really keen on, being in Stavanger and being involved in such activities of friendship between the two cities, is that it is the joy of living that you learn about others' culture at the time when you keep your own and enjoy other culture or other cultures, not only the Palestinian culture for the Norwegians or the Norwegian culture for the Palestinians. So in a way, I view this kind of activity, if you may call it, or part of your life as a motivator for bringing in more joy and more knowledge. And in fact, here we are talking about a very big difference in terms of living conditions, in terms of economic situation, in terms of simple words, living free country or living under occupation, with whatever this could mean. So I felt from dealing with so many young people here in Stavanger that when they get to learn about how difficult life is for Palestinian students, it may make some of them sad a little bit, but in the long run, and the best effect from knowing about the Palestinian students is that they better appreciate their system, they more appreciate their country, they more enjoy the living conditions they have here, the educational system they have, etc., etc. What I very much appreciate in the relation between Stavanger and Nablus is that it is both-way benefit. It is win-win activity. It is based on mutual respect and cultural interaction in terms of whether we talk about dance or music or literature. So in many cases, there is this building extended family relationship between the two city members.
Are there any particular projects that has become very important in doing this?
In fact, I look at the project in which we built mini Nablus inside the Stavanger Museum in 2014 as a very successful project in this regard, because in that project, and thanks to everyone, I mean so many people were involved, the museum administration and employees, the Twinning Association, the designers, so many people who worked very hard to make this a success. Because a miniature of Nablus was in one of the corners where an artist also brought samples of monuments carved in ceramic to show the cultural or architectural heritage of the city. But that was a small part. In the major part, it was like walking through the alleys and the streets, narrow streets of the marketplace, where you can have 5 dimensions of experience. You can see it, you can walk through it, you can touch the materials, because 40 cubic meters of products were brought from the market and exhibited, where the sound of the market was recorded and broadcasted in the museum, in addition, of course, to the smell, where the herbs, the tobacco, etc., etc. So the 5 senses of the human being were living the experience of walking through the old city of Nablus, in addition, of course, to the soap, the olive oil soap that was also made in one of the corners, mini sample of a soap factory, made in the traditional way. So I think the reflection and the reaction from people who visited that museum at that time was very powerful, was very positive. The exhibition was supposed to be for 3 months. It expanded maybe 1 year or so, because of the many people who came to see it. And now what we are working on, actually, I hope it will be implemented as soon as the situation allows in Palestine, is to make an exhibition of mini Stavanger in the city of Nablus. And I have put so many elements that can be representative of this beautiful city, with wood structures and old houses, in addition to so many elements from the cultural heritage, the rich cultural heritage that this city have, which will also be an introduction to the people of Nablus about the city of Stavanger.
And in your opinion, what is these types of cultural changes achieving for, say, Palestinians and for Norwegians more specifically? What do we achieve here? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, what do you achieve when you travel? As a tourist, you may enjoy food, you may enjoy the scene of a place that you visit as a tourist, but when you know that this city is your sister city, it means you have to ask why, and who initiated, and for what purpose. What are the elements that made this kind of, if I may call it, tourist visit became an initiator of a sister city? And in this regard, I have to pray and wish mercy for Mr. Kian Rim, who was the initiator for this twinning in 1984. That was formally signed between the 2 municipalities by Mr. Sivland and Mr. Shekha in 1996. And all the mayors who came after in both cities were very active in keeping it. So at least you could see that the mayors in the 2 cities have seen positive impact on their own people in keeping it. Otherwise, they would have canceled it. That's one thing. And the other thing, as I said, if you go and visit any city as a tourist, you will not dig into its own culture, and you will not ask yourself so many questions that you do when you visit a sister city. So I think it creates more joy, better knowledge, and a gate to getting to know a different culture deeply in a way that allows you to enjoy it peacefully.
And perhaps also it widens the horizon of your identity.
Exactly. For both people, I mean, that's one thing. Maybe at this time, we are demanding more and more support from the Norwegian friends because of what we suffer under occupation, but I really very much appreciate the many activities that and all the people who participate in the demonstrations that are taking place every other week on Saturdays and on other occasions in the center of Stavanger. And I mean, if not only the people who do participate in the demonstration themselves, you could see the faces, you could see the reactions, you could see and you could read the feelings of sympathy of the people who are watching from far away these demonstrations. And hopefully this will build on and better influence from the local politicians and the Norwegian government towards just peace. That's what we are looking for, ending the occupation and just peace for Palestine. I think we are not asking much in this regard.
No, I think you sound fairly reasonable.
Well, that's the least demand of humanity.
Exactly.
I mean, what else do we need more than ending the occupation, which is the last occupation on earth? That's one thing. And if you are a human being who believe in justice, then what you can ask and demand and support is a just peace for Palestine.
I'm going to ask you a question in which one way I feel like I have to ask, but I feel very frustrated I have to ask it. I have to ask to make people who work especially within the cultural and the museum sector of Norway, I need to ask you, which is completely unfair to you, because you have probably advocated this for your entire life, right? But paint us a picture of how it is to work within the cultural heritage sector in Palestine. How is it to work within this sector when you're under occupation in your day-to-day?
Well, maybe your question came from your thinking that working in cultural heritage is kind of prosperous work. But in fact, even if you consider it, though, you have to dig more into inside the Palestinians, and I assure you that many of the Palestinian people are more powerful than anyone can think, simply because despite the difficulties, the economic difficulties or social life, despite the harassment, daily harassment, and I mean, name hundreds of meanings of living under this brutal occupation, we tend to enjoy life. We have parties for wedding, and we have family gathering on very expensive meals sometimes, and even under house detention. In 2000, during the invasion and the massive demolition of the city, the house detention regulation used to be lifted for 3 hours. During these 3 hours, some people used to run to collect some food or milk for children or go to hospital, but couples used to just get married because life should continue. This occupation has lasted for how long now? 67 years? No, 76 years, 77 years. Yeah, I mean, since 1948 and the West Bank, 1967. So how could we survive all this period? You have to forget about occupation in order to be able to resist. You have to enjoy your life in order to be able to live. So even if you look at cultural heritage as a way of a prosperous activity, maybe I don't. Maybe some look at it this way. But even if you look at it this way, that's fine. Living under occupation does not mean that you stop enjoying life. You enjoy it, but in a different way. And cultural heritage, for many people, it's the identity, as I said. So it is one way of resistance, because you are proving your identity. The myth that Israel was established as a state was based on homeless people for homeless land.
Yeah, for people. What's the phrase again? For a land without people, for people without a land. That's a myth they created, right? The Zionists before 1948.
Exactly. Yeah. But you are talking about Nablus, where there was a hospital built in 1905, where there was a train station that took pilgrims from Nablus all the way to Mecca, from Nablus, and that was running up until the British occupation, but it started in 1908, and even before that. So cultural heritage is the identity, is the cultural message, is the cultural joy, is what we would like to share and tell people about and learn from the city of Stavanger about their own in order to enjoy as well.
Because that brings me into the question of what within the cultural museum sector of Norway, what do you wish for them to do? You obviously wish for them to sort of dig into the history, learn, enjoy the culture, right? But are there other forms of solidarity one can do simultaneously so that one does not constantly paints you as a victim, but also tries to understand their twin city? This is particularly for the museums around Stavanger and the surrounding area, but are there stuff that they can do?
I would like very much to see a sample of the city of Stavanger in Nablus, or not only in Nablus, touring Palestine. Stavanger is an important city, and it has a special identity that, of course, every other city in Norway has, but Stavanger, especially as we are coming here to celebrate the 900 years of establishment for the city, has this kind of special flavor that I believe the support we get from the Norwegian government, which has been since Oslo Accord, the goodwill of Oslo, although the horrible implementation of Oslo, but there was a goodwill to bring peace to Palestine. And I think, listen, many people, when they hear the word Norway, they feel a little bit of joy and smile, because Norway was very active that established this peace accord with the goodwill. Forget about the bad implementation or horrible explanation of so many details in it that led to what we are living in these days. But Norway makes a Palestinian smile because of that. Goodwill and support to the Palestinian government. They are the ones, in addition to Spain and two other countries, I can't remember right now, who...
I think it was Ireland and Slovenia.
Yeah, who declared their acceptance of a Palestinian state. We still need more from friends, because you are a friend, which allows us to ask for more, as much as you can. I think it is time that the people of Stavanger, the people of Nablus, overcome any kind of obligations that could stop better knowledge, joyful knowledge, enjoying culture of the other. And as you asked about the museum, young people, I believe, are here better educated to learn that the museum is not just an old storytelling. It is a time-life learning that can build your knowledge for better judgment of the future. If you become older, people say you become wiser. But if you are young and you visit a museum, you get the old experience of so many people in so many eras, and you can accumulate it and better build a decision for the future.
Absolutely, because now there are more museums trying to document things as they unfold. And I think from having a certain level of experience within the museum sector in Norway, maybe there's more opportunity then to work together between Norwegian museums outside of Stavanger also, to build these stories together, right? To sort of start documenting while things are still going on instead of like in 50 years.
Yes, and the letters that has been written by children and visitors to the museum these days, which will be read after 100 years, I would have loved to live 100 years to read what and compare what people were dreaming and the situation in that era. So, I mean, it's a big world, and knowledge cannot be limited by a person or a country or even a universe. The universe is much bigger than we can think, and we are too small to fight, but we are too wise to support each other. And I think, yes, the joy is coming, peace is coming, freedom is coming. And this reminds me with the Jaren Folkhøgskole, who keeps thinking about this major important song of South Africa, freedom is coming. And I tell you that freedom is coming for Palestine, and joy will remain for Stavanger.
I think that's a very good way to round off, and I think I very much agree with you on that. Naseer Arafat, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us.
My pleasure. Tusen takk til alle sammen.
You have just listened to an episode of Stemmer for Palestina Rogaland, meaning Voices for Palestine in Rogaland County on the west coast of Norway. The show is published by Palestinakomiteen in Stavanger, also known as the Palestinakomiteen of Stavanger. The Palestinakomiteen of Stavanger is a local branch of Palestinakomiteen, a nationwide Norwegian Palestine solidarity organization going back to the 70s. Feel free to forward any feedback to the contact info in the show notes. The podcast show's regular hosts are Rima Keblavi and myself, Andreas Lange. Recording producer was Borghild Nerheim from Vandrefilm Production Company. The logo was done by Bjørg Sabrin Timras. The soundtrack was composed, recorded and produced by Saher Hamoudeh, leader of the Palestinakomiteen in Stavanger, and the track is called Samud, meaning steadfastness. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and Free Palestine!